Amun Ma'at Hotepuna. I introduce myself. I'm Montu Amun, and I just want to speak a little bit on some of the reflections. The title would be The Reflections on Principles of Amun Ma'at. I would first like to say that my mother passing, so I've been in the house where she is, and I've been basically quiet. What has happened is I kind of went silent and went into myself, and except for maybe me getting a phone call from somebody, I didn't really have too much of anything to say, if anything to say, unless I was speaking to somebody. But basically, I was living in silence for the last 2.5 years, and so being in that silence, I didn't realize it at first, but I came to realize it, that I was beginning to come to a point where I could see into much of the information, data, knowledge, if you want to say, that I had read and studied and researched for over 47, going on 48 years. And also just reflecting upon my experiences of what I had lived in for, again, the last 47 to close to 48 years. I'm picking it up from 1970 when I joined the Nation of Islam, more than the years before that. So reflecting, living in silence and kind of, you say, not necessarily on purpose, but living in a meditative mood and a reflective mood, I noticed that I began to have reflections and insights and begin to see into many things in a far deeper dimension than I had done before. And what really happened is I just came to a point where I began to realize is that the things I was beginning to comprehend on another level, there really weren't any words to explain those things. And I began to realize that words as tools of communication, one can get to a place to where words don't really have that much value to communicate anymore. And the reason is because your level of understanding, if you want to call it that, your reflections and your insights, your reasoning process, rationalizations, actually goes into a dimensional level to where words basically lose their functional process. And so that's really what has happened to me. So aside from allowing myself to speak, communicate a little bit here and there, I'm really in a place where I don't have a lot to say because words no longer are applicable to the things I'm coming into knowing. The same reality about it would be hard, if not almost impossible for words to explain my reflections upon spirituality and religion as it is expressed or manifested amongst humans or amongst us as people on the planet Earth. I've come to the conclusion that the religions that we, I guess you say, identify with, and the spiritualities that we identify with, for me, as far as I'm concerned, they're non-functional based upon what the humans are actually living in. So religion and spirituality has had an experience here in the lands that we call the Americas, North, Central, and South America, in the last 400 or 500 years. What has happened is that people from all over the world have ended up coming to these continents, North America, South America, and they have, I guess you say, implanted themselves or made a new life for themselves. The historical reasons why they ended up here differ, but overall, there's a manifestation of people from all over the world, I would say, that have now based themselves in North America and South America. But outside of the native people, basically the black and red people who might know who were already here and who could, I guess, we could consider them as natives of these lands in this period of time. But for all the people who came from other places in the world, and whatever religions, spiritualities that they brought with them, as far as I'm concerned, it has not served to help the unfolding of events here in the Americas, and the desecrations and the ungood history that has evolved over the last 400 or 500 years. That said, it also appears like on a worldwide basis that religion and spiritual identifications of people are not addressing at all what's really going on, as far as I'm concerned and from what I can see. So I'm not trying to challenge in any kind of way or speak in a denigrating way on anybody's religion, spirituality, but based on where we're at as humans, they're not functioning at all. Maybe a little bit to uplift people, in terms of their human existence on the planet Earth. But if we contrast it to the possibility that we may be living in an infinite universe, it doesn't appear that any of our religious and spiritual animations or identifications are helping us at all. And I do also want to say that I feel that if religion and spiritual insights were really as essentially functional as they should be, we really wouldn't need science, because your spiritual and religious feelings would kind of compel you, if you want to say it, or urge you to get to know your world, your home, your planet, your surroundings, your solar system, your galaxy. Religion should do that, and for us to be using science and technology as opposed to the spiritual, what I feel should be the natural results of spiritual motivations and urgings. It's really a disgrace to have to see science and technology and other, if you say physical sciences, having such a profound effect upon human development, as opposed to, if you want to say it, a higher state of perhaps the miraculous, the magical, the mystical, metaphysical, and then even stepping into, if you want to say, realms of spirituality, where we should be accomplishing something far beyond anything that we are accomplishing at all. So I just want to say that as far as I'm concerned, humans are not in a good place. And the place that they are in, the condition that they are in, there really isn't any words to try to describe it other than it's not good. And we need to make not only major changes, we need to make necessary changes, needed changes to get us to a better place so that we can stop living / existing as though we live on the planet Earth and live and exist as though we are consciously aware and spiritually conscious of the fact that we live in possibly an infinite universe. And the universe that we're in may, infinite though it may be, it may only be a part of you want to say it, an infinity times infinity. So all of that said, that's why I said we're just not in a good place at all in that regard. Don't know how much physical time I have on the planet Earth, not that it even matters at all. I don't really see the humans making the necessary change, even if something catastrophic was to happen, even if if you want to say extraterrestrial beings appeared. I don't think that the humans would make the necessary change. And the concept of a God, of any identification with God under any name anyone wants to use, reaching in and, if you want to say it, using the divine power or the God power to bring about the change, that's not of a help neither. Because if we as humans can't manifest that we have a conscious understanding of our abilities and the higher things that we should be able to manifest, if we're not able to manifest them, then maybe our own existence is its own condemnation. I'm not really sure. I just feel that this is something that the humans, uh, of themselves, by themselves, without any, if you want to say, interceptions of any kind, divine, extraterrestrial, extra dimensional, should be able to accomplish. Someone could say, well, is it not possible, if not true, that there's already interception, the divine interception is already there, and that even if you want to say it, alien, extraterrestrial, extra dimensional interception is already there. All of those things, I would say, are true. Without trying to use any words to define what that could possibly mean, at least to me, I would just say still, the consideration of us being human beings has to take place by, if you want to say, inner realizations of the higher reality. And that's why I said this talk is just principles, reflections on the principles of Amun Ma'at, and that is Amun being the infinite unknown, Ma'at being the infinite justification of all. And if we relate to that kind of consciousness, that there is the infinite unknown, and therefore there should be no reason why we should be satisfied with little tidbits of information, knowledge that we may call wisdom, like, even as far as knowing ourselves on the planet Earth. We should be where we're actually having a living experience of relating unto the universal order. And of course, that would mean we would have to become far different beings than what we are. We would have to probably be able to become beings who have amorphous abilities, metaphysical abilities. I sum it up in the term of being true, spiritual, universal, metaphysical beings. And I say beings more so than humans, because we have to go far beyond that. I'm not going to try to use any words to try to explain that, nor or express it in a way that I would say someone understands. Anyone who hears these words, they can reflect upon them if they mean something to anyone. Good. And I hope that perhaps it may be an inspirational spark to help them to awaken to themselves, and maybe even develop into one of those beings who can help to go through stargates or go through dimensional states of existence and help others to get there. We as humans, we're going to need the magical, the mystical, the miraculous, the metaphysical. We need that to just even begin to relate to the possibility, perhaps true reality, of our universe being infinite. Without that, I would just say we're just not in a good place at all. So there is a quote that's attributed to a Russian, I believe, astrophysicist, cosmogonist, or his name is Konstantin Tsiolkovsky. It is true that the earth has been the cradle of mankind, but mankind cannot stay in the cradle forever. We've been, as humans, man/mankind, we've been in the cradle far, far, far too long. Because of that, we're not in a good place. If we don't get out of the cradle, then we'll just be beings. We can call ourselves humans who are just not in a good place, and words are not really, there are no words applicable. And as for me, most of what I'm coming to realize, understand, and if you want to say it, see into, there really are no words to describe it. So I don't really have a lot to say to anyone, except being polite, if you want to say it, and respectful in terms of, if I meet someone or if I'm speaking to someone, hold a conversation with them. But I don't try to communicate at all that which I've come to realize is not necessarily communicable in words. I believe I was reading some writings of Chang Tzu, one of the, I'd say, ancient philosophers, spiritualists of ancient China, and Chuang Tzu made a statement that he wished that he could have a real conversation with someone. And some of his friends heard him. I mean, they heard him make the statement. They said, "Well, you can speak to us at any time." And Chuang Tzu said, "No, I just meant that if we could just simply sit down and appreciate each other's presence and be silent, and allow that silence to be our conversation." So that's basically where I've come. I'm at a place where words as tools of communication are just about losing all of their functional use for me. With that, I'll just close out and again say I hope that perhaps something I say might be of some inspirational input to people. But my words, any words that I speak, are a mere, and barely a mere reflection of really what I've come to know and realize inside. So with that, I'll just say, Amen Ma'at, Hotepuna Chedro, love and peace to everyone.